Bob Babbitt here. Breakfast with Bob, Ironman 70.3 Dubai. Mr. Terenzo Bozzone, one of our favorite guys.
Thanks,
How the heck
Bob.
are you, T?
Oh, really good, really good. Got family back home, wife and my 6-month-old baby
6-month
boy.
old. What's his name?
Cavallo.
Cavallo. Now,
Yeah.
what's the history on that name?
Wow. My wife's favorite designer is Roberto Cavalli. So that's one, and then the other thing is she bet on a horse when we first started dating called
Yes.
Cavallo, and made some money on that. Not much, our gambling extent, but she loved the name. And when we started looking into it, naming our son, we found out actually it's Italian for horse, but also the horse on a chessboard is a knight. So I really like what
it
the knight
represents.
symbol is. Yeah.
I like that. So you're one of those guys who's been in this forever and ever and ever, right? Since you're like, how
I
young
still feel
were you?
young.
You are.
I'm still the young guy.
You are still the young guy because you got into the longer distance young.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I started doing triathlon when I was 14. So I was a swimmer and I popped my head on wakeboarding, and that pushed me out of the water and had to find something else to.
Now,
get doing.
in where? What country were you living in?
I was in New Zealand.
Okay.
So yeah, we've been in New Zealand for a couple of years. And,
Yes.
So when I was 13, popped my eardrum and started doing duathlon, so run, bike, run.
And you were really successful with that.
Yeah. Went to my first world champs and got 19th, I think, in the juniors, and then I won the following year.
Yes.
But I've always had a bit too much energy, so my parents always encouraged me to do a little bit of physical activity.
Yes. So, triathlon, the transition to triathlon and the success there. When did you know that really the longer distance was something that was really meant for you?
I mean, even when I was doing the ITU stuff, I knew long term I would step up to Ironman. And
yeah.
I think I've always been really good at endurance. I could train all day, even when I was younger, and really enjoyed the training and enjoyed pushing myself like that. Definitely never been the fastest kid on the block,
right.
But I can go pretty strong and go pretty long. So when I missed out on Olympic Games 2008, that was basically a good push to say this is time
to move on.
Yeah, time to pursue my dreams of winning the Ironman World Championship. So it's still on the cards.
So you win 70.3 Worlds.
Yep,
right?
Yeah. So 2008.
Yeah.
Ended up being not a bad year.
No. Now, was that the same year as Wildflower?
No,
when you broke
was 2006.
Okay, when you broke the course record, that I think still stands.
I think so.
Wildflower.
Yeah.
So
I did that.
When I think of you, that 70.3 distance, you have been the dominant guy at that for a lot of years, right? There was one year, one summer where I don't know how many races you did. It was somewhere like you were doing within a week of each other. You were doing 70.3. I almost got to the point where it seemed like people were looking at those like their Olympic distance. The numbers of what was the most 70.3s you did in 1 year?
Oh, it's funny. I actually recovered quicker from 70.3s than I do from Olympic distance racing.
Do you really?
Yeah. It's really weird because I could race. I think I did 4 70.3s week after week.
Yeah, like 4 in a row.
Yeah, and wasn't a problem. But as soon as I tried double the distance on one day for an Ironman, just can't do it. What's going on? Maybe I just need to break it up into 2. Just think, okay, this is race 1, this is race 2.
Yeah. And there was a point where when you looked at this, you did an Ironman and a 70.3 in fairly close proximity to each other, and that's always tough, right? When you're trying to do it.
That would have been last year.
Yes.
Yeah, Dubai race here. And
and
then a week later it was Ironman New Zealand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going. Did that turn out to be a good idea, or?
It wasn't a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, probably. Well, for me, it was great. I came here and won the biggest prize purse of my career so far. And
in the first leg of the Triple Crown.
The first leg, so I've been home a Triple Crown. So, and that put me in a good stead for what could have potentially been a pretty big payday at the end of the year. So I set my sights on that. Unfortunately, one of the races was up in Oman and that had to be cancelled.
Right. And then it became Ironman Austria.
Yes, yeah. And a few weeks after having a baby, probably not the best preparation.
No. So this year is a Triple Crown. It starts tomorrow. You're defending champion. I'm assuming that's a big part of your plan.
Well, I'd love to be in that situation again.
Yes.
I'm going to go into the race this weekend like I did last year. No expectations. It's very early in the season.
Yes.
I know what I have to do to execute a good race, and that's the best I can do on the day. I know there's a few other good guys here.
Right.
And yeah, it's still early in the season, so anything can happen to anyone. But I'll I'll give it my best shot, and hopefully it's good enough.
When you look back at the, and I don't even know how many triathlons you've done now as a pro. A few. Best race ever.
Oh.
To you, I mean, because there are a lot of times we'll look at it and go, okay, best race ever is, a 170.3 worlds, one Wildflower course record. But the race that meant the most to you, or might have meant the most in terms of your career, or just to you personally.
It's a tough one to say which one means the most.
Yeah.
But I, like you said, World Champs definitely holds a big part in my heart, and Wildflower. Whenever I'm training and getting ready for a big race, I always think back to that Wildflower race in 2006, where I just had one of those days that every triathlete, every endurance athlete dreams about, where
Yes.
you can just keep pushing, and your body doesn't blow up, and that was that day for me. I mean, I rode away from some of the strongest bikers.
Yes, back in 06, that race always had the best field.
Yeah, and then broke the run course record, I think, or like a 1:12 on that course. No idea how I did it. I'm like, just give me that once a year. I only need that race once a year.
I mean, people go a 112. When you think of 112, you're thinking Muskoka, you're thinking something sort of maybe rollers or flat as a pancake. Wildflower is brutal. It's off-road, it's uphill, it's that hill from 9 to 10.
Yeah, well, there's one hill you actually I walked up.
Yes,
yeah,
and you still ran 112.
It was only a short walk. It wasn't a long hill.
No, but still.
Yeah.
It's not something you'd consider being a fast course in any way, shape, or form.
No, but there's so many races, but I think racing here last year in Dubai was pretty special. I mean, I got off the bike, and besides the stuff up that happened with the course, I was running along just feeling great, and knowing I had a couple extra gears, and just knowing that I'm putting myself in potential to win the Triple Crown, and also if I cross the finish line first. It was one of the biggest, definitely the biggest payday.
What was the prize purse on that?
It was 65.
65K.
Yeah. So it was not.
That's not a bad way to start the season.
That's the biggest prize purse in a half Ironman. So yeah, it was pretty special like that, because it took a bit of pressure off for the year, and meant I could I could focus on what I needed to focus on instead of chasing money.
When you look back in those days, Wildflower sort of kicked off the season, right?
Yeah.
And it ended in Kona.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You May to October, and then you recovered and started over again. Now you've got Bahrain in December, and Dubai.
There's actually a season. I thought it was just a full year thing.
How do you pick what to peak for? Because you can't be on top for 12 months. It's just not possible.
No. Well, unless you're Daniela Reef.
Good point.
That is tough, because you start racing now in January, and Bahrain's in December. You got a bunch of high profile races in September, October, and then of course there's the racing part of the season in the middle of the year, May, June, where you want to be racing a bit, getting your name out there, and getting some results on the board. For me, my big goal this year is Hawaii.
Yes. Okay. So this is
focus on that, and see what I know. It's going to take a bit more learning to be able to get to the top of the podium, but I'm definitely focused on that being my goal.
When you train with a guy like Chris McCormick, who's won the Ironman twice, right? And I'm sure there's times during those training days where you've got him on the ropes, right? You're hurting the guy. He's hurting. You know that this guy's won that race twice. I remember talking to Tim DeBoom, and he goes, "I'm training with Peter Reed every day and hurting a guy, and then he wins and I finish 10th. How does that happen?" Do you look at that and go, "Okay, I know what it took to help Chris get to the point of winning that race, so I know what it takes to win that race"?
I wish I was the kind of guy who could pick someone's brain more. I feel too polite. I feel like I have to kind of step back a bit. And Chris is great. I've really enjoyed training with him and learned a lot from him. But I definitely think there's a wealth of knowledge there that I haven't tapped into yet, and hopefully I can get a bit of that. But I mean, you look at it, and the training side of it, I don't think there's anything physically that I could be doing differently.
Right.
It's probably more the mental side of it, and how that race is unfolding on the day, and probably being sure I'm on the start line with enough energy mentally and physically to push for those 8 hours and a few minutes.
Did you feel this last year? I know you had a bike crash and couldn't race Kona this year. Did you feel, based on the fact that you did so well and won in Dubai and were having a really really good season, was that type of thing where you were feeling that this is my year to win Kona?
Well, no, I'd focused earlier on in the year. I decided I wasn't going to race Kona. I was going to focus on the
Triple Crown.
700 Triple Crown.
Okay.
But the year before I'd gone into it. I'd hit some of the best numbers I'd ever
Yes.
hit, and training had gone great. But the swim was honestly the hardest swim of my life. I was just hanging in there.
Really?
I got on the bike and it felt like I'd really raced an Ironman. It just felt like there was nothing there, and I think a lot of athletes get there. They train really well, and just for
don't
some
have the
reason,
day.
it doesn't fire.
You don't have that Wildflower day.
No.
You know, it's like, and that's like you said, you were able to pick out that one day that where everything was just perfect. And you've raced since you were 14 years old.
Yeah.
So those days don't come very
No,
often.
no.
And in Kona, when people talk about the heat and the wind, to me, it's the field.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
depth of the field,
Sure.
everybody's on fire. Nobody's racing through Kona. Nobody's tapering for something else.
No.
They're there ready to win that race. So to have that type of day on that particular day has to be the toughest part of the sport.
For sure, and I think you can over time create a formula that puts you in the best position.
Yes.
And I think we're pretty close to having that formula. I think it's just more me and Ironman distance racing that keeps not getting it right. But you look at the guys like that have won it a lot of times: Dave Scott, Mark Allen, Peter Reed. I mean, they would have had a formula that they followed.
Right.
Like Chris McCormack and Crowe. They've all had a formula they follow to get into the race and know what's going to work for them. And I think for me, it's just learning what that exact formula is.
You'll get it.
Hopefully.
Terenzo Bozzone has been our guest, the daddy, the defending champion. Hold on, everyone. We will be right back.